So this total immigration ban from the third world countries. Third world, again, I always say this, third world doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. It is simply something people say because they don't want to say brown people. But alas, I genuinely think this is an indicator for the collapse of the US empire. Now, let me explain this. So, I don't really know the countries, but here's okay, the list. Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, the Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, Venezuela. Don't really understand a lot of these. Why are you banning people from Haiti? Why are you banning people from Burundi and Laos? Like Togo as well. But essentially, I think this is an indicator of the collapse of the US empire, because we are in a post-capitalist system. We are in a system where, especially in the United States, I believe the forces of global capital want to leave the United States, this could be two things happening simultaneously. The ultra-nationalists their presence is so strong now in the country that they feel like they don't need the capitalists. I feel like, so in the United States, they basically have a techocracy. The tech billionaires have the biggest sway in that country, from Mark Zuckerberg to Elon Musk to even the guy at Google. Who's the other one? There's another one. I can't remember his name. It's Zucks. There's another one there. It's some white dude. And then there's the one that's up and coming, the guy who owns Oracle, who is trying to buy WBD with the Saudis and basically get a hold of just, control and I think they've gotten part of TikTok, or at least the US part of TikTok. They have a techocracy, and some of them, like I think it's Ellis, the guy who owns Oracle, they believe in the nationalist stuff, and so they will work with the nationalists. But a lot of the other people who are the capitalists don't actually want to be involved with the US anymore, because they see the US going isolationist. People like Larry Ellis, I think that's his name, I'll correct myself if it's not. People like Larry Ellis are okay with the United States becoming insular because they still believe they're going to have complete control, having complete control of the United States is better than having a little bit of control of other places in the world. And so the nationalists are potentially pushing for United States to become insular, so then they can have complete control of the United States at first. They're going to do this process of going, completely insular, having complete control of the US, and then maybe when it suits them, they'll either open up or, militarily, aggressively go elsewhere. They are laying the groundwork for, invading Venezuela, for invading Mexico, even, pushing the buttons of Canada. So there is two forces at work here, I believe, and I think this policy is the force of the nationalists, making the United States as insular as possible. Yes, this list of countries is, not people from Europe who would be more likely to emigrate to the United States. These are people from poorer places, but it's a step, isn't it? You normalize stopping all immigration from these places, and then you slowly eke it out furthermore till there's no immigration from anywhere. This is funny. Sleepy Joe Biden's autopen, that's hilarious. The shooting has emboldened Trump's rhetoric against immigration. Social media post, he berated the politically correct stance of Americans on immigration. What's funny is this guy was they chose a very strange guy because this guy was a guy who helped the US government, who helped the CIA in Afghanistan, and they're saying he's the shooter. Maybe he genuinely is the shooter. Maybe the United States didn't treat him very well. But this stance goes against the run of play of global capital, because global capitalists, they want these people to come in. They want more workers. There's a reason why the United States and other countries are pushing this idea of, breed, baby, breed, have kids, have a family and stuff, because they need more workers. And, there is that side of immigration where they want people to come and work as labor. But even if it's not cheap labor, they just need a labor. And, if I'm a person who believes in immigration, you should be able to immigrate wherever you want to go, and not just to be exploited for capitalism. You should just be able to. It's the Earth. We've got one, and it's barely alive. But that's a tangent for another video. I do think this is the forces of the nationalists, and it will probably backfire on the United States, because the United States is so connected to capitalism, even in this post-capitalist world we're kind of going into, into this techocracy, nationalistocracy, tech nationalist world we're going into. You need to be a capitalist first to get to that stage, and I don't know how much going away from capitalism, going away from globalized capitalism, is going to help them. If you start banning everyone from the United States, make the United States completely insular, eventually you will run out of people to exploit and to get money from and to control. And perhaps the nationalists in the United States are like, but we're not concerned about money. We are only concerned about having control. If we control everything in the United States, why would we need to care about money? Because we have everything. We have complete power over everyone. There's a reason why I think a lot of companies are kind of looking at the Middle East more. The Middle East is approaching this kind of space that the United States has been in for a long time of, hyper-capitalism, hyper-investment, privatizing assets, giving them over to these corporations where these people can keep enriching themselves. Whereas in the United States, they're doing that less and less, unless they are the ones that really believe in this nationalist ideology, or are trying to use the nationalist ideology as a foothold to keep squeezing as much money out of people as they can. Like Facebook, I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg is a guy who is like not super feeling this nationalist thing, because I'm going to make less money. But if I can use it to wring as much as I can out of the United States right now, and then whatever, he'll go off to India and, I don't know, help them set up fascism, and when he's done there wringing the money out of India, he'll go to Europe, or whatever. So you do need to keep in mind, global wealth, global corporation isn't necessarily tied to one nation. They are everywhere. These ultra capitalists are everywhere, and some of them will lean into nationalist ideology. They will lean into that. They perceive power differently to purely money. And there were some that were like, actually no, we just kind of want money, and money is the power. And so we aren't going to lean into this nationalist ideology of the United States, But we'll have to see. I do think, this is a start. Again, the United States has been doing this. They've been normalizing. They do a little bit of thing, see how much pushback they get, and they go further and further and further. So, if we look at Venezuela, they were killing fishermen in boats for no reason. They had no justification for it. And now they've got soldiers on the banks. Corporations have clearly lobbied them enough to be like, look, we don't know what you're doing with this nationalist thing. We don't know if you're going to close the borders or everything, but at least let us extract as much oil as we can from Venezuela. So we have that. Perhaps they even pitched it as, look, we can extract the oil from Venezuela, and you've got cheaper oil in the United States, and it's easier for you to do whatever you want with the oil when you insulate the United States. Who knows? And then you've also got, I don't know, with the immigration raids in the US, the white nationalists are like, okay, that firstly, we're going to start doing raids and say, okay, we're coming here, we're raiding this place. And then they randomly turn up. And then it's not just people who are illegal immigrants, it's now anyone who looks a certain way. And then it's anyone with a certain ideology, regardless of the way they look. But maybe they're not US citizens. And then it's people who are actual US citizens. We'll get rid of them. Because they are a threat to their nationalist project. This is, I think, a step in, how far can we go with this? And I think they're going to get away with it. The Muslim ban they tried last time didn't work because he didn't have this, event. He didn't have this thing that was like, look, the people will be swept up in this and they'll be okay with it. And it makes it easier to implement. This was, that was 8 years ago, 9 years ago? So it was harder for them to do that. Probably 8 years ago. Now, the Overton window has been pushed even more. People are struggling even more. And now he's like, hey guys, I had this event, whether it be real, whether it be a false flag or whatever, I've got this event. It's going to make it easier for you guys to accept it. And I'm going to keep pushing, and ultimately achieve their goal. Again, this is all predicated on the idea that the United States will collapse as a global power and become an insular, fascist, nationalist dictatorship. I don't think they can maintain capitalism as it is at its point, especially with the move to the right and nationalism, because the white supremacist nationalism that has, it's still part of capitalism. You need capitalism to get there. It's just, sometimes you don't always reach that point, but it seems they have reached that point, and they are going to, I think, become insular. And I don't feel great for Americans or people living in the United States, because it will become a scarier, even more militarized, fascist police state. All the things the United States accuses its enemies of, for, accurately or not, the United States will become that. And I'm telling you, this is a step in that direction.